say, it's not like something I,
It's 8 o'clock, time to go to the agenda for the Wayne County Commissioners meeting today. Invocation is going to be given by Dr. Hudson. Mr. Pate, you going to do the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Please. We have the approval of the minutes. And at 9:15, we got a public hearing on the street light assessment at Fallingbrook. Mr. Gurley, you got any appointments this
We
morning?
have two.
Have two, okay. Any unfinished business, Mr. Wood, that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman, but we do have two add-ons.
Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the new business, and if you would, just take over and kind of go over them, please.
Okay. We have a presentation by Goldsboro, Wayne County Travel and Tourism. I believe that one of y'all serves on that, and one of them to come and Bill, that was you? Okay. Then we have a motion to approve Wayne County 2015 Emergency Medical Services Medicare rates. We'll have Jeremy Hill here, along with Tommy Burns, to explain that to you. Medicare sets rates every year for what we can charge, and so we need to adjust to those rates, and so that's all that is. Then we want to give you an update on the E911 facility, request for qualifications for architectural feasibility study for the 911 Communications Center. This is a follow-up to the report that you got at the last meeting. We wanted to talk about next steps on where you want to go from here. And so we have had the staff meet and go through that study, look at the personnel issues, look at the facilities issues, and a lot of this really ties back into facilities issues first. So what we've kind of done is a critical path for you on this and looked at where we need to go from here. Obviously, we're not going to make decisions today, but my intent was to have a discussion of it so that we didn't waste any time on it because so much of this is going to be contingent upon facilities. And it's not the initial facility, it's getting other facilities ready to stair-step things, depending on what we decide to do. So really what I look for this to be is a discussion, which then I'm assuming the Facilities Committee would take it over from there in terms of the facility side. We would also have some discussion about from the employment side, but obviously we can't employ any more people over there until we have a place to put them. So if we're going to do that. And then there are some other issues which we raised, which was what can we do to cut back on some of these administrative calls and things like that. So let's just be a follow-up discussion of what we went through the other day. Okay. Then we have a motion to approve a contract with Critical Mission Partners for professional services. This is to go after the grant, but that's also what is pushing this discussion because my recollection is the grant is due in April. And of course, it's already February. So if we're going to going after a grant this year, either for a new building or a renovation building, we need to get our hat in the ring now. And so it's pretty critical that we get moving, and that's why we have bumped this up so quickly. Because again, that's going to push us, and it's kind of the linchpin to everything we do. That'll buy us time then for the committee to go through and look at which way do we go. But we need to get our hat in the ring on that grant. That's the big boy. Okay. We have a motion to approve municipal engineering contract amendment for professional engineering services related to providing sanitary sewer to Grantham Middle School, an appropriate budget amendment. Then you have other budget amendments, which Ms. Holt will go through. The one for Grantham is, of course, the additional surveying that we did for the additional property we bought. That was a boundary survey. It's also a topographic survey. And included in that is the soil scientist who works for him to do the analysis on the soils and all that. Okay. Like I said, then we'll have budget amendments. Then we want to declare solid waste 2004 Mack truck as surplus property and authorize its sale. You have a request from Tim Rogers to do that, and if you remember, he wants to reinvest that money in some additional equipment that we need. We have a motion to approve Ingram Fields subdivision plat in Fort Township, and I believe Connie will be here on that. Then we have a motion to approve a resolution in support of the Cherry Point VMI-1 search and rescue mission and its helicopter known as Pedro. And that was one, I believe y'all asked to be on the agenda for this time coming up. And then the other thing is Commissioner Mayo had asked to add a motion to approve resolution opposing the ruling on same-sex marriage, judicial ruling. And so we have that prepared as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor.
I was wondering, excuse me, my voice is about gone today. WBR stops broadcasting at 12 noon, right? And-
I'm not
That's
sure, is that right?
And what I would like to do, since, could we move the resolution item 10 up to where we could get it in before 12 noon possible? So that citizens could hear it on radio?
Pleasure of the board.
I have a question about, Mr. Mayor, what is your main agenda for this thing? I mean, you seem to be playing to somebody out there.
No, it's whether we want to reinforce the vote that citizens.
Let me ask you this,
That's it.
did the citizens of North Carolina vote on this thing, and didn't some citizens in North Carolina sent this up to the Supreme Court?
I don't know if the citizens did or not, but the key is that, do we want to support the
I just
vote,
don't-
the voters
I
of
just
Wayne
don't like
County
the
or
idea,
not?
I don't like the idea when commissioners try to go political and start trying to play to certain people out there.
It's
And
not.
that's what you were doing.
The citizen vote is what took place in 2012.
But that's not our job. Our job is to take care of the citizens of Wayne County, and I wish you would get back to that instead of playing these politics.
Okay.
Pleasure of the board. I mean, it's a board decision on whether you want to move it up or not.
Well, I'm hoping that we're gonna have, I hope that that's not gonna be at 12 o'clock at this point. I would hope that we could get that done before 12 on all these items. But if y'all wanna move it, I mean,
Well, can we play it by ear? and see
Yeah,
if we
that'll be fine.
Just
I would-
move it if we need to?
okay, that's good.
I would like to go back to item number 8. I'd like to move it first, so Connie could go ahead and go through that, and then he
Sure.
can leave.
Sure.
Would that be all right with y'all?
Oh, well, Mark's saying he's got to be down there under the work session,
Okay.
but now we can move both of them up if you want.
I need to let him know he needs to be here because he's not gonna be here at 9.
Okay. Well, pretty much.
Well, I
We
would
just-
I'd like for what he's got to handle today, to go ahead and do both of them at pretty
Same
close. to-
time. Okay.
Keep him from having to stay here all day.
You want to give him a call and let's have him over here early.
I doubt he's in right
Okay. Okay, the two add-ons we have, we sent them in the email to you, and you should have attachments here today. One is, we got a request to establish a public hearing for $25 million of public finance authority for the, I'm looking for the name. It's the,
This one is the Wayne Prep.
yeah, Wayne Preparatory Academy. This public hearing is for $50 million, but it's only 25 of it applies to Wayne County. Wayne Preparatory Academy is seeking to borrow $25 million. They're doing this through the Public Finance Authority of Wisconsin, and then the loan proceeds will be used to construct facilities there. They are a 501c3, and this is how they go about this financing at the federal level. And the key is that while you have to approve it, it's kind of a formality. It is not debt of Wayne County. I want to stress that. There is no obligation to Wayne County. It's similar, I guess, to an industrial revenue bond where it's done for the client. It's a private purpose bond and only the client, the preparatory academy is responsible for the repayment. With that, I'm gonna turn it over to the board.
The other thing that you have done on a fairly regular basis is when the fire departments have come to you to ask you to approve their borrowing some money so they can get it at a good interest rate. This Wisconsin crowd, Joe, you may remember the finance people.
The least.
This is one of the ways that they were talking about getting some money. It's fine, but the main, absolutely, the main important thing is that it is not the county's debt. You're not responsible for any of it. The lawyer contacted me last week, and we had correspondence back and forth that I was keeping George and Marcia aware of. And he wants it done at your next meeting, and to get it done at your next meeting, you would have to call the public hearing today.
Question,
It is for the charter school out on Platetown Road.
Right.
question, Mr. Attorney. When this $25 million building is built, will the county levy taxes on it? Will it be, so it's?
It's a 501c3.
All right, I just wanted to make sure the same,
Treated like the public schools in that sense, both of them are tax exempt.
that's what I wanted to, that was the question that I wanted to have answered, because I wanted to see what the relationship, if there was any comparison or how it stacked up. with
My
the public
understanding
school.
of charter schools in North Carolina is they are deemed public schools.
And there's public money that goes into it.
Right.
So is
But
that why?
this is part, it's not, I think, ironically, last week, right after I got the email, there was a front page story in the News Argus about adding a grade to that school. But this is for refinancing the whole building, not just enough for fifth grade.
Yeah, they currently have temporary mobile units there on the campus. And this would allow them to borrow the money necessary to build a permanent structures. So, and I understand they're really growing out there. They've done real well. I mean, they opened, I think, in August of this year. So this is their first year. But this, it will not obligate the county in any way, just allows them to borrow at a lesser interest rate.
That's right.
Okay.
Mr. Pate?
The fact that public money goes to these charter schools, is that why they have to come before us to borrow the dollars?
No, this is under the Internal Revenue Code. The governing body has to approve it, but you're just approving them doing it. You're not saying you're borrowing, you've got no liability.
It just seems a little strange since we don't really have a dog in this fight.
Well, it's, as I say, the thing that's most similar is when you allow the fire departments to
Right.
buy trucks or add a building or build a building.
Mr.
But
Marty,
just as a-
Mr. Marty was next.
Just as a little side note, briefly, there was an article in yesterday's paper that the General Assembly, I think, is gonna take another look at the whole charter school, as to, I think they might have used the word, if it didn't, I interpret it as increasing their oversight. So, charter schools, the General Assembly is concerned about the overall financing, money spent, accuracy, audits and all that kind of thing. So it
The one-
sounds like they're taking a look.
The one comment I might add to that too, this is just filed under additional information, is right now in North Carolina, the charter schools get the per pupil share of the money, depending on, in other words, the money is split out of the operating money that you appropriate to the school system. Charter schools get a portion of that, depending on how much of the student population is in charter schools. However, they do not get any capital money. Now, that became an issue a year or two ago because there's a push by a lot of folks with charter schools that they feel like they should be entitled to some of the capital money as well. That has not gone through the legislature as yet, but that's just something we need to keep our eye on, because that would be an additional cost.
Mr. Mayor, may I have one follow-up? Mr. Manager, when you talk about the per pupil expenditure, is that based on statewide, or is it related to what's spent in Wayne County?
My understanding is it's both, is the state appropriation and local appropriation.
So then my question is, if it was on a statewide basis and those ranking, and some of those had a higher per pupil expenditure, is it perceivable that a charter school could wind up with a larger per pupil expenditure because they were?
No, it's on a pro rata basis. In other words, the state does a VEP. You know, they give you so many positions and pay for them. They would basically do the same thing. So they wouldn't end up with any more
Okay.
than anyone else. And then whatever you give, like we give roughly $19 million a year. Let's say, to do the math easy, that we have 19,000 students, which I think is about right. That's about 1,000 a student. So depending on where the student is located, that's where the money goes to. And the theory behind that is that if you have more kids in charter school, you need less money in the public schools for them. So it's supposed to be an equalization of it. And there's people on both sides of that issue. We could spend all morning talking about that. But I just want to remind you that the way the law is right now in North Carolina is that schools get their prorated share of the operating money. They do not on capital. And that's been a bone of contention.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Parker, the management of the school is still private, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's where there's a controversy, using taxpayer money in some people's eyes, to fund a private school. And I've heard the comment, why don't we do other private schools in Wayne County, use tax money for that? So there's a little bit of controversy here, but I think the overall goal is good. But that seems to be where the rub is using taxpayer money to actually lawfully a private school. So
I think that's what Ed was talking about, that there have been some charter schools that have not succeeded because of haven't spent their money the way it was supposed to be spent, apparently.
Just one follow-up on Mr. Attorney. And others help me out just a minute. Wasn't also part of this rub, Mr. Mayo, that they did not have to divulge the salary? They didn't have to follow, like public schools, there's a salary schedule. And a principal who's got a smaller school, has a salary schedule, middle size, and then high schools are larger. Isn't it a situation where they can set their own salary for administrators? It seems like that's in that whole business someplace, and therefore, if I saw anything that was skewed, and Mr. Wood eloquently described the per pupil expenditure, but when I saw that, I wondered how an administrator, if you're using public money, they didn't have to follow the guidelines that the public schools have to, because I have a lot of folk real close to me that's in school administration in the pure public sector, and I would be disappointed that tax money could be allocated to someone else, and they could have a high salary set simply for doing some of the same thing that a person who's working in a regular K-12 school would. If you follow what I'm trying to get at, I'm glad, maybe it does take another look at all this. Maybe it's good that there's another look.
This is a two-edged sword. The charter schools may be paying less than what the public schools are paying.
Could be.
Is this controversial day? We're just establishing a public hearing, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's get back to the point.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so that's the first add-on. I'd like to put it as number 11 under new business.
Okay.
And then number 12, what we'd like to add is we have a state aid to airports block grant project. We have been going after this. The airport advisory board has gone after this. The staff has. And we've been awarded a grant for a little over $16,000, which would allow us to do the engineering out there. This is to clean out all the ditches out there, restructure all of that. And rather than wait 2 weeks, if y'all have no objection, we'd like to add this on and just approve that grant. We can sign off on it, and we're 2 weeks ahead on getting that underway, because the sooner we get the grant approval, then we can go out and have the architect do the work and get going on it. So that's the reason for that, Mr. Chairman. Just a motion to approve the grant.
Okay. Any questions on that? If not, when we get to it, Mr. Wood, just
Okay.
go over it. Anyone else got anything to add to the agenda?
Gosh, I hope not.
If not, 10 o'clock, we have our public comment section. Then our county manager's comments, Board of Commissioners committee reports and comments. We do have a work session on outdoor advertising sign ordinance. Do we need to have a closed session this morning, Mr. Wood?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
Okay. If not, we'll adjourn until 9 o'clock for our regular meeting. It is 9 o'clock, time to conduct the business of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. Would ask if anyone has cell phones or pagers, please put them on silent mode, please, and I even need to check mine. Okay, let's get started. We have the honor of having Dr. Hudson here this morning to do our invocation. I'm gonna put him on the spot. How many times have you ever been called Paige's husband?
More than I can get.
But if you would, please.
Thank you for the honor and privilege to be here with you this morning. Let's pray. Gracious Father God, we thank you, Lord, for this glorious morning that you have given to us. Lord, with this glorious morning and these wonderful opportunities that you have blessed us with, Father, you have truly blessed us more than we deserve. Father, it is my prayer this morning for the residents of this great county. Lord, you know their joys, Lord, their sorrows, their triumphs, and their trials. Father, be with them. Father, I also pray, Lord, for the military personnel and their families. Lord, I thank you, Lord, for Lord, their desire, Lord, just to serve this great nation in which we live in. Lord, I pray, Lord, also for the sacrifices that come with that. Father, I also want to pray, Lord, for these commissioners here. Lord, I want to pray, Lord, for the county leadership. Lord, just bless them. Lord, bless their families. Lord, as they desire to lead this county according to your good purposes. And Father, now I pray, Lord, for this meeting. Father, I pray, Lord, that you would help lead this meeting, Lord, with discernment, Lord, with wisdom, Lord, with passion, and Lord, with compassion. And Father, I thank you, and I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson,
Thank you.
for responding to
Thank you,
such a
Dr.
short notice.
Mr. Page.
Face to face. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 20th?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion on the floor. We approve the minutes of January the 20th, 2015. Any discussion? If not, all in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries. Mr. Wood, any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we have two. One is to schedule a public hearing on a charter school request for a public hearing for the issuance of $25 million in bond money for them. I want to stress this is not an obligation of Wayne County, but it is required under the IRS rules that you have to approve it before they can go forward with it, but it's for facilities at Wayne Preparatory Academy. And we'd like to hold that meeting at the next meeting, which is February 17th, 2015 at 9:15 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
The second one we want to add, that would be number 11 under new business. Under 12 under new business would be a motion to approve the airport ditch project engineering grant. We had applied for a grant for that, and that has come in. We'd like to go ahead and add that to the agenda so that we don't lose 2 weeks on it, so we can move forward with it. Again, this grant is not to do the actual work. It's to help defray the expenses on the engineering for the project. But it's a 90-10 grant for us, 90% state money and 10% county money.
Okay, thank you. We've got a few minutes before we have our public hearing. Appointments. Mr. Gurley?
The appointment committee met this morning. We have two appointees this morning. First one is appointment committee like to recommend Jonathan Holland, President of Wayne County Fire Association, to serve on the Ordinance Review Committee of the Emergency Service Cost Recovery Ordinance. The other members of this committee are the Fire Marshal and Fire Commissioner. And I'd like to put this in the form of a motion.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
And the second one is the appointment committee would like to recommend Melissa Watkins to the Wayne County Veteran Service Advisory Committee as the at-large committee member. And I'll put this in the form of a motion as well.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley. We have no unfinished business, correct, Mr. Wood?
No, sir.
Yes, if there's a short new item business we can take care of right quick.
Mr. Chairman, on item number 11, I will be happy to make a motion that we establish a public hearing for February the 17th at 9:15, is that correct?
That's right, sir.
At 9:15, with respect to the charter school applying for revenue bonds in the amount of $50 million?
25 for us.
25 for us, for 25 million here.
Okay, any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries. Let's See if we can go ahead and take care of item number 12 also, Mr. Wood.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, this is, like I said, it's a grant application that we went after. We got it. The grant is for $16,401, not to exceed 90% of the final total cost. We would match that with 10%. Again, this is for the engineering, to do the, basically restructuring all the ditches out there. I guess they haven't been done, Joe, what, 15, 20 years?
Whatever, or longer.
Yeah, longer. So FAA requires a detailed plan on everything, and so the good news is they're helping to pay for it 90%. So we recommend approval of the grant.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
And associated budget amendment.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, have a motion on the floor on item number 12, the airport grant. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor?
I just had a question. Mr. Wood, are there grants available for the actual job itself, cleaning out those ditches?
Yeah, that's my understanding. We'll be going after that, but we have to get the plan in first. They have to approve it, and then we can go after
Yeah,
that.
it's just a matter of information, but I think there are grants available.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Got 3 minutes.
Ma'am?
Got 3 minutes.
Number 9.
Okay, let's take care of item number 9. Mr.
Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Camardi.
I move that we approve this resolution in support of Cherrypoint VMR-1 search and rescue mission and its helicopter known as Pedro.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Any questions for Mr. Wood?
Just one short comment. I'm not sure it was Pedro, but just within the last 24, 36 hours, I was watching television, and I saw somebody getting somebody out of the ocean. Looks like a helicopter being used. I wonder if it was Pedro doing it. So, let's keep something in place that's gonna be saving our seafaring brothers who are brave enough to go out into the ocean where those sharks live.
Any more clarification on that, Mr. Wood, or?
No, sir, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Darty.
In full disclosure, I do want to let you know that I do occasionally go out into that ocean, and so I, undoubtedly will be supporting this.
Maybe we don't need Pedro.
Oh, my goodness, just kidding.
I have a motion on the floor that we adopt resolution number 9. No other discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Oh, I feel relieved.
Mr. Chairman, if you want another one, we could knock out number 7 very quickly.
Okay, thank you. If you would take care of that, let's go.
Yes, sir. This is just to recommend that you declare the solid waste 2004 Mack truck surplus property and authorize the sale of the truck with the proceeds from it being used to pay for the new road tractor and dump trailer, which you had already approved at a previous meeting.
Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion what he just said.
Got a motion on the floor that we approve, declare solid waste truck as surplus property and authorized to be sold. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, we're close enough to 9:15. We have a public hearing, levying an assessment of $48 per lot per year to the property owners in Street Light District Number 4, Fallen Brook, for the installation and servicing of street lights on all streets. Mr. Wood, you need to go into that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll give you a background on it. As y'all know, you created the 6 street lighting special districts. This is the 3rd one where the petition has come to us and been successful. This is one of the larger, if not the largest subdivision out there. Marcia and the tax administrator and the county clerk have both confirmed the petition is valid. The tax administrator has prepared the preliminary assessment roll as required by state law. He's posted in the office of the clerk to the board. The board set today, the date and time for the public hearing today at your January 20th meeting. We've published the required notice of preliminary assessment roll availability in the clerk's office. The clerk has sent notices of the public hearing by first-class mail to all the property owners. And all you have to do this morning is hold the public hearing, and then if everything is fine, you can adopt this resolution, which is on page 26 in the agenda packet, and the assessments will be made. The assessment is $4 per month per lot. So it's one of the lower ones that we have. That's because there are about 205 lots out there, so the cost has been spread out pretty well on these. Just a point of clarification, there was an issue of whether 4 lights were included on this or should have been on the other side of the road. They had not been included in this, so they were fine. The other 2 issues we had is there are 2 lights that are missing. They show on the plat that we have, but they are not in yet. They are included in the contract with Duke, and Duke has assured us that they will go in and install those lights just as soon as possible. And they're prepared to turn them on no later than Friday of this week if you vote for them today. So everything's ready to go if you should find everything's in order. And with that, Mr. Chairman, then we would need a public hearing on it.
Okay. Declare the public hearing is now open. Anyone have any comments that they would like to make on the street lights in Fallingbrook? Mr. Pleasant. Yes, sir, please state your name and address, phone number, please.
I'm Bob Pleasance. I live at 100 Plantation Road in Fallingbrook. There are a number of us here, and on behalf of Fallingbrook residents, we want to say thank you for establishing the districts and offering us the opportunity to get our lights back on. We're very excited about that, and you can understand that I think we had about a 70% participation rate as far as the petition is concerned, 71, something like that. So people are very excited about it. We look forward to it. We certainly hope to see those lights on Friday. And we thank you for your efforts in establishing the districts. And there's a good bit of support here for it, as you can probably see.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? No one else has any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bell.
Can we just approve all but one? Mr. Raff, we want to leave him in the dark.
I'm gonna deny your request. If no one else has any comments, public comment section is closed on the street light for District 4.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mayor.
make a motion that we accept the resolution on page 26 and 27 for levying an assessment of $48 per lot per year to the property owners in street light districts number 4, Fallingbrook, for the installation and or servicing of street lights on all streets.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Do you see a need to read this whole resolution?
Not unless the attorney does.
No.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daugherty.
When are the lights gonna be on?
By Friday.
By Friday, okay.
No other discussion. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
could we get an update on the others?
To my knowledge, these are the only 3 that we have received at this point. We're still waiting on any more. So there's nothing else in the pipeline right now. We did 6. And if you remember, one of them really wasn't a subdivision. It was kind of some of the leftover lots that were out near Buck Swamp and Salem Church Road. So there are 2 subdivisions we're still waiting on, and then that area there. And I don't know what the status is on those. So we're just waiting until they turn them in.
Mr. Mayor.
We've had two subdivisions that did not accept the Tarpon Acres.
Mhm.
But Morgan Trace, I understand, is just 3 or 4 signatures short. So we should be hearing something from that subdivision in the near future.
Okay. But all of them have the information, they're just working on it.
And Morgan Trace will be the last one
Okay.
that we have.
That we have.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if nothing else, the lights should be cut on by Friday. Are y'all gonna have a parade too?
Is it all right if we give you a round of applause?
Thank y'all for coming today.
Well, y'all don't have to leave.
We let y'all take care of your business.
Your business.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My goodness, they had a good turnout, didn't they?
Yeah, they were on fire out there, buddy.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to take those 2 planning issues now?
That will be fine, let's take care of them.
Okay.
Let me get my thoughts together. Item number 8, motion to approve Ingram Field subdivision plot in Fort Township. Connie, if you want to go over that for us, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Alley asked me to put this up here. I don't know why, but
Because you're
I'll do
tall.
my best. Ingram Field subdivision, J&E Developers, it's on Charlie Braswell Road in Fort Township. This is lots 13 through 40. The 28 lots on the east side of Charlie Braswell Road, north of Rosewood Elementary School. Property is zoned RA20 and is an urban transition area on the growth strategy map. This subdivision will have 3 new streets: Ingram Fields Drive, Rustic Field Drive, and Windy Willow Court. All the streets are in place and paved. And you see open space area on the north and east side of the property. That is property that will be eventually turned over to the homeowners association for them to maintain. There is an existing small cemetery in the area on the east side of the property. Planning board recommends that it be approved as presented.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion on the floor that we approve this subdivision plot. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. I want to make sure that this is actually right down from the school.
Yes, sir, just north of the elementary school on Charlotte Braswell Road.
Okay.
There's the, if you see on sort of the southeast corner of the property labeled United States Cellular, that's where the big cell tower is on that road, if you sort of give you a bearing.
Okay, yep, okay.
And
Thank you.
this property does go all the way back to the railroad, and you previously approved a preliminary for all of it, so you'll be seeing future sections as they develop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And the planning board does recommend?
Yes, sir, planning board recommends it be approved as presented.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries. Connie, while you're up, let's go ahead and take care of the work session on the
All right.
outdoor advertising ordinance. It's gonna take just a minute, I hope.
Okay. We met about a month ago, went through the ordinance and went through the planning board recommendations. The Board of Commissioners suggested some changes, and what I've got before you today is a a memo that has what's currently in the ordinance, what the planning board's recommendation is, and then what the Board of Commissioners was suggesting based on their most recent discussion. On the first part where we had the preamble to the ordinance, the Board of Commissioners recommended that we remove the prohibition of signs along freeways. The rest of the preamble would remain the same. Jurisdiction, planning board and commissioners are in agreement to make no change to that. Applicability would apply along all existing and future freeways, highways in the county. Planning board recommends no change. Commissioners say change to 600 feet to match the state rules. Prohibits signs beyond 660 feet. No signs on trailers or skids. So this would get us in line with the state rules as far as distance from the highways and where we would be enforcing the ordinance. What we previously had was 1,000 feet there.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Doty.
could I inquire? Once we had our original meeting on this, did you go back to the planning board?
I did not.
Okay, so it hasn't been back to the
It has not.
Okay. You just bringing us up to date on our last work
Yes, sir,
session.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Under location, the commissioners are in agreement with the planning board's recommendation that signs may be placed in areas zoned community shopping, airport, light industry, heavy industry, or airport industry. Signs in these areas do not need to be within 800 feet of a qualifying commercial or industrial activity. And this would be more in line with the state ordinance, which is, allows you to have signs in zoned business areas, even if there is no business there.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
just clarification, those areas that are not zoned, if someone had an interest to put a sign there on
We
freeway.
could establish zoning in those zoned areas, and we did talk about amending the zoning map last time, and we will be working on that around some of these interchanges, but this could be done, this ordinance change, and it will actually open up some areas that are already zoned, without having to go through the whole process of public hearings and planning board and amending the map.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Doty.
But if I'm understanding, if you are going to allow billboards, it would have to be in a commercial zone.
No, sir, it would still be a place that if it's in an unzoned area, it would just need to be near existing business.
But if it's not near an existing
It needs
business,
to be in a commercial zone.
it would have to be, and I think we discussed the fact that we could possibly zone those as neighborhood.
We could come up with a business zone for those. We just we're working on that. We just have not got to that project.
Because most of this property that we're talking about on the location we would have to have a zoning locally, or they would be precluded from the state. In other words, the state
Well,
would not issue a permit unless it was in a zone.
They would issue a permit if it's close to a business. Thing is, along a freeway, you're not likely to have a business with access. You're going to have the business off the service road, and that would be your qualifying business.
Well, and that's the next issue, and that is, of course, when they open the bypass, there's not gonna be any development out there. So it'll all be kind of open, and the only way we would be able to have billboards is to go ahead and have it zoned prior to the opening.
Yes, sir, but we've got time on that.
We do.
But I guess we're probably still a year away from the road being open. But
Can we establish, as an example, on either side of the freeway, could we establish the 600 or 700 feet along that and have only that area zoned for neighborhood business?
you probably could, but we probably need to look at the map, and it may be some areas along the highways that really are not realistic for business. And the state will sort of kick out, they'll say if a county or city is zoning just for the purpose of putting up signs, they still won't recognize it.
Really?
Yeah. So they've got ahead of the curve on that one. So, but around interchanges and where you've got utilities in place, where you've got access to properties, those would be appropriate places for businesses.
Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Price,
Yes,
back some years ago, we discussed putting electronic signs on Highway 795 and the bypass.
we've already got that in place.
Okay.
That's already in ordinance. That would not be changed by this. The electronic signs, they are still guided by the same spacing requirements and size requirements as the rest of the signs.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
and when
Payne.
you say nearby business, I mean, how nearby are you talking about? Is there,
The,
Just on further down, I think.
let's see,
Honestly, it has to be within 800 feet.
that sounds right. It's in the state ordinance.
Yep, signs must be within 800 feet of a commercial activity.
Right, so it'd be if.
it says
if
do
they-
not need to be within.
It's like out on US 70 east and west now. We don't have zoning there. So a person opens up a business, they open up a gun shop, they open up a manufactured home sales lot or a used car sales, whatever. You can have a sign on either side of that business within 800 feet of that business if there's not one already there. But with this case, with it being with the freeway, there's not gonna be a person opening up in a business with direct access to the highway. So where service roads are being built around the interchange, you may have businesses there that would make that location a qualifying location, even if we had no zoning.
Going back to my question, I'm just, one of the businesses I know of that's been contacting me is not right at the interchange, and it's probably a couple miles from there.
Right.
Are they gonna be allowed to have a sign out on the freeway?
It would be treated as a outdoor advertising sign, off-premise sign, which is what this is. This
Okay.
is signs where the,
So it is
It-
allowable? you're
it is
saying?
allowable. What we're regulating here are signs that are advertising a business that is not on the location where the business is located.
Okay.
If the business is next to the highway, then this is not an issue. They can have their sign anyway.
Okay. Well, I was just concerned, say somebody wants to come to Goldsboro to go to Wheeler's Barbecue, and they're on that freeway, if they could see a sign out there that
Somebody,
tells them what
right,
exit to
a
take.
sign company or individual would have to put up a sign out there and then rent space on that sign to Wilbur's or whomever.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure I understood it correctly. Thank
Well,
you.
Mr. Chairman, let me clarify that, though. Actually, if it's a couple of miles away, if it's more than 800 feet from a commercial enterprise, then you would have to have it zoned as a commercial.
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, sir.
So you'd have to have it zoned, and if you don't zone it, then they're not gonna allow those signs. And I think, let me clarify what the concern is. And that is with the opening next year of the bypass, our travelers are going to get on the bypass at 581 at Rosewood, and they're going to get off in Lenoir County. And if they don't have some signage out there to encourage them to get off the bypass and come into Wayne County and come into Goldsboro and eat at Wilbur's or wherever, then Lenoir County is going to benefit from all those people. In other words, they're going to stop in, over there at, what's the barbecue place over in Kinston? King's.
Right.
So we need to try to protect Wayne County's economy, and one of the ways of doing that is getting some exposure, some advertising out on the highway, and that's our concern.
And that's what this will do. This will, the first thing that you're changing is allowing signs along freeways.
Right.
And then we're just looking at spacing and where they could be to get in line with what the state allows.
Right.
Uh,
So we're working in the planning department
Yes,
to
sir.
devise some zoning that would allow those signs to be 2 miles from the interchange, as an example.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay. Under spacing between signs, Board of Commissioners says adopt state rules of 500 feet between signs on freeways and 300 feet on all other highways. The size of the signs would remain at maximum size of 400 square feet, and we clarify that the measurement does not include the trim. The maximum height will be 50 feet above the pavement. The maximum height for the sign itself, 10.5 feet. The maximum length, 40 feet. The separation from other uses, we would still maintain the 500 feet from churches, schools, public institutions, and 300 feet from a residence which may be waived by the owner of the residence. And the planning board and the commissioner say to allow the waiver on all uses, to extend the waiver to all uses. So if a church, if a school, or whatever, a charter school, the charter school out here on Tommy Road, if they were close enough to the highway and they had no objection to a sign being placed on their property or close to their property, they could provide a waiver for you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Gerald.
for simplicity, is there any particular reason why we couldn't keep both at the same footage?
You can, which would you prefer? Split the difference or put 5 or 3?
I'd rather go with 300 for both uses, if that's agreeable with everyone.
I would concur with that.
Can you
Okay,
make that note, Mr. Price?
next would be on the general requirements dealing with the structure. The commissioners recommended that we have all structures must be steel on a single pole. Under obstructions, signs could not be interfered with traffic signals or signs, and that would cover those electronic signs. You wouldn't want to have an electronic sign right near a stoplight.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor.
let me back up just a minute. Commissioner Gurley, we're talking about the separation from other uses, going from making it flat 300 feet, is that right?
Yeah, that was the discussion, yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to see it stay at 500 for churches, schools, or public institutions. I recommend we leave it the way it is. That's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Mr. Price, I mean, we've got two different requests on the same thing, so my recommendation is talk to the planning board and come back to us, because we've got one commissioner says 300, one says 500, so I think we need to get some more input on that before we.
Well, you had two commissioners that said 300.
Okay, well.
One goes for 400.
Well, this is.
One says go to 400.
This is not an action item today, so my recommendation is, if it's all right with the board, is to let Connie go back to the planning board and come back with
We'll see what they come up
with a recommendation.
Well, and kind of just, so that the planning board might have a little bit of meat to nibble at. Mr. Gurley, I'd like to hear your rationale, and Mr. Daughtry for 300 versus the 500, and of course, Mr. Mayo, the same thing, because I think maybe once the discussion gets back to the planning board, it's worthy to know what the thinking of the commissioners are before it actually gets back to you. We'll be spinning our wheels. So if you would.
Mine
Go ahead.
is simple. Based on if you drive down Highway 70 and you're a landowner and you look at that piece of parcel of land and then you just visualize 300 feet versus 500 feet. And so I'm thinking on behalf of the landowner, making better usage of his property.
Was that your thing?
Well, that, and it's less restrictive, and that's what the state is speaking of, and I just don't see any reason for the additional restriction. Now, there again, if we want to compromise, go with 400, that's fine with me too, but I don't see any reason to be more restrictive. And so that's the reason why, or from one use to the other.
Mr. Mayo, I'm sorry, my question would be, and I don't know whether we can forecast this or not. Are there some businesses that you may have thought of, Mr. Mayo, that might intrude on those church, school, and public institutions that you might think, and did you have some in mind that you might think would pop up out there that would be
Yes, sir.
detrimental?
Yes, well, at our last work session that we had on this, if you remember our conversations where we had limited control as to what is advertised on these signs. And the concern is that 500 feet seemed to be agreeable with the commissioners at that time for church, school, or public institution. So what we were concerned about at that time was the type of advertising that will be close to these institutions.
Not to pick on these, were you thinking about beer signs or, I mean, is that what we're,
Well,
anything that could intrude on
yeah,
young people seeing something every day that you might would,
yeah, we have ordinances and limitations as to the location of all types of bars or whatever in the city of Goldsboro, being within a certain distance. So that was sort of the idea of talking about these signs being 500 feet. But whatever the board would like to do, but that's the reason behind the 500 feet.
Again, Mr. Price, just take it back to the planning board and let them go over it, and then come back with their opinion.
We meet
Because like
next
I say,
week.
there's nothing on this is action item today. This is just a work session.
All right.
And kind of for clarity, this isn't in the state regulation, correct?
That's not in there at all.
There's no limitations on signage around those type facilities
No,
and organizations. That's what I
That's
thought.
correct.
So, to clarify, if we don't change that, we actually are gonna be more restrictive than the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With
If-
either distance, we're gonna be more
If you
restricted than the
change
state.
it, you'll still be more restrictive than the state.
Well, what is the restrictions? There is a distance required from, there's not?
No,
There's no distance
no, sir.
required? Interesting.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mann.
the question is how many of those people at the state level live in Wayne County? We as commissioners are responsible for our county and to our citizens, not the state. And that's why I think this has been in place for quite a few years.
Well, then I think the state, of course, has their ordinance that has to cover all, in the general terms, the statewide issues. They're not going to get too specific. If you have certain issues that are specific to Wayne County that make it different from other places that you want to protect or not, then that's why you have your own local ordinance. If we don't need to do anything other than what the state's doing, then why have a local ordinance?
Question, just curiosity, surrounding counties, do they have something similar to this 500, 300?
Most,
Are you aware of?
no, I mean, most just follow the state. Most don't have an ordinance.
Okay,
most follow the state.
Yes.
which would be new.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Darden.
I think it's kind of unfair to the planning board that we just send this hot potato back down to them, and I think we need to give them some direction.
That's
I mean, you're on the planning board.
And that's why I have an opportunity to hear the discussion at both board tables. It's good for the planning board to kind of have a good sense of what it is that they're dealing with and what your thought is, because it can get bounced back and forth. And it's good to hear, maybe reinforced to my ear, that the state doesn't have a distance. And although we have to protect the integrity of Wayne County, probably we need to recognize we need to be in step with our competition. Now, I've been in Kinston several times over the last week and a half, and I pay close attention, Joe, to where that road goes back out. It's a distance out there. I mean, and once again, for the sake of the businesses and our tax base, I'm just putting myself in a car that starts out at Chapel Hill or Raleigh, and I'm looking about how far it's gonna take before I'm gonna need to take a stop. And so it would be fairly easy for me to shoot right on past that interstate, and knowing that Kinston is down there, and they got all those restaurants down there, and they go, and I wouldn't be stopping at all those nice restaurants we have out there on 70. And so I would be going on down there catching that, because I know that my endurance would take me on to Kinston. So we need to be very considerate right now. The other thing I thought about while I'm listening to my knowledge of compatriots down there, I don't know, and I know you said we have a year, but I was just wondering if Joe daughter might be thinking we need to go ahead and get something up out there. We don't, maybe not need to wait a year. I'm thinking we need to make a decision, and that's why I want us to get our heads together here, so we can make a decision about what we're gonna do and go as quick as possible and do something.
Well, what I was speaking about was the year was, I'm sorry, the map itself. You could go ahead and amend the ordinance in the short term, and that would take care of a lot of the issues out there now.
All right. Mr. Parker,
Yes.
I know this is a work session. Can we vote on an item that's in a work session?
Yes.
So we could poll it.
Yes.
Well, do you want to actually vote on it, or you want to poll, or?
Can we just, do we want to vote on it? Yeah, I mean, we can vote on it.
I mean, y'all are the ones that just started the discussion now, so that's up to you whether you want to vote on it or not. That's not my decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayor.
I think we can just do a consensus and not do a vote, but I just want to reiterate that the 500 feet that we're talking about here is only for churches, schools, and public institutions. How many of those are located along Highway 70 bypass? So maybe what we're doing is maybe we're really looking at it too closely, because we're only talking about church, schools, or public institution. So maybe it's not a big deal to leave it at 500.
Well, along the freeway, it would not be, because you're correct, along the freeway, you're not gonna have any of those
Right.
that are in that area. Along the existing 70, 117, 581 is where it would come into play.
So would it be, let me ask this question, Mr. Mayo and Mr. Gurley. If we somehow or another put the language in there that we would obviously exclude, that we could exclude the 70, so that we would not have to worry about any distance out there, since there's not gonna be any schools and churches on it, and then fix it so that if we're concerned about 581, we would only be concerned about the roads that we might have a school or a church or one of those institutions. I'm talking about tweaking it so we get the best of both worlds. Don't prohibit the opportunity for businesses to do what they do, and then only deal with the roads that we need to. You understand me, Dr. Carr?
We can't sit here and decide where a church or school or a public institution is gonna be, because we've got secondary roads across or either go under that road. They may not be connectors, but they're gonna be within a certain
That's right.
distance of that road. I mean, we can't sit here and say where a church or a school or a public institution is gonna be.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Can the 500 feet be wavered? I know the 300 feet,
I
the
think
300 feet can, but can the 500 feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, there's your answer.
That's what I'm.
Mr. Chairman.
That was one of the things you discussed last time, was, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
wavering all of it.
Here's the difficulty I have. I mean, I don't want to beat this to death, but at the same time, I don't understand why you want to take a certain group and put an additional restriction in there in certain instances, and I don't understand why. Unless we're saying that, as I understand from Commissioner Mayo, that we can't control what's going to be on the board. Well, you can't control what's on the board within a residence either. So I may have some personal offensive in regards to looking at a billboard that's got Schlitz Mall or liquor on there or whatever. But the point is, you can't control what's going to be on boards. And that's what we're basically are doing. We're saying that we're being more restrictive because of the message going on the board. And I think that's wrong. I think if you're going to have it at 300 feet, it ought to be 300 feet for everybody. Or just do away with it entirely and not have any restriction. So at any rate, I just feel like we need to have it at 300 feet for all uses.
Pleasure to the board. You want to take a poll?
Yes, in fact, I make that in form of a motion.
I have a motion on the floor. We take a poll. Mr. Gurley,
300.
Mr. Mayo,
500.
Mr. Daugherty,
300.
Mr. Bell,
3.
Mr. Pate,
Since it can be wavered, I'd say 5.
Mr. Camardi.
3.
I'm gonna say 3. So we have a 5-2 poll.
As I understand, that would be leaving it like it is. But all of them could be waived.
That's-
We would still have a 500 foot
That's correct.
separation from churches and schools, 300 feet from a residence. And if the owners or occupants of any of those places want to waive it, then they could waive it.
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Move on.
Again, we talked about the structure itself, but it's still on a single pole. We have the fees, we have the permits, the no change, changeable face signs are allowed, and variances. We're taking out the section that prohibited variances, so that if we have an unusual situation that we can't come up with today or in the near future, the owner of the sign could request a variance and explain why he's different from everybody else, why he needs the variance.
Any other questions for Mr. Price?
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Connie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have we got anything else for Connie to take care of?
No, sir, I think that's it.
Okay,
All right.
you can go back to work.
One quick thing while Connie's there. I want to make sure everyone understands that there is a kind of a sense of urgency that we go ahead and get this done, because it's going to take time for sign companies to get out, meet with property owners. I mean, we would like to have it available when that highway opens, that we can have some immediate impact in regards to bringing people off that highway.
Well, we've had a sign company come into our office that's already in a zoned area,
Oh, yeah.
in anticipation of this being approved, so they're fishing already.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good. That's
I'd like
good.
to I'd like to ask one question. I'm just trying to picture all those things back up towards Chapel Hill and Raleigh and everything. The state will put up their regular signage that'll show gas, food, and so forth and so on, and
Right.
then they'll have a little bottom line where it'll say Chili's, and all those things will be on there, won't it?
Yes.
So that's, okay. I just want to make sure
That,
that we were
all
gonna
that is
be
inside the
having.
right of way, inside the fence, is regulated by the state. Those businesses are paying the state for that advertising, where you'll see, as you say, Chili's, McDonald's, Wilbur's, and whomever. And then once you get off the highway, there'll be smaller signs that will direct you to where that business is. So if you have a billboard going up, there'll be a one-time sign at a location.
Mhm.
Where if you use the state, they'll direct you directly to that business up at Fremont, where you've got Capital Cafe, is one out there on 795. And then when you get off the ramp, there's another sign there, and one down there about at 117 in Fremont, direction to where, so the sign directs you right up to the front door.
So in other words, a private business, not like Chili's and all those, could buy a spot on the state sign.
That's correct, that's how they get on there.
So Wilbur's or
They could buy it on
Modular Home could put something on.
Yes, sir. Or whatever
I
the
mean,
fee is.
That's
like I
incredible.
said last time, those signs are so small, like Mr. Mayor said, by the time you get that, you zip right past it. And I think there is an urgency to get this stuff done too. I've got strong support in my district, because, you know, the road's going through there.
I do
A lot of
too.
concerns, so. And I appreciate what you've done with this in the planning board.
And one last point, and that's a good point, Mr. Cromartie, and that is that we need to go ahead and reach out to the state. If they're going to have those signs available for businesses, they need to start polling
Yes,
some
sir.
businesses to go ahead and get those signs up.
Right.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
And I guess, Mr. Chairman, I guess your next step would be for, if the board is satisfied with this, is to establish a public hearing.
Are we gonna have to take this back to the planning board? We're just gonna go ahead and,
That's your call on that.
If you establish,
let's take it back to the planning board.
I think we owe it to the planning board to let them look at it.
I do too.
if you establish the public hearing for 4 weeks from today,
Yeah.
the planning board will immediately
We
be
meet
able
next
to,
week.
Meet.
be able to come in and do that, and that'll give opportunity for the advertisement to get in the paper.
I think we need guidance from the county manager and the county attorney on, do we need to
I
go
would,
ahead and
I would
set it?
agree with that, is go ahead and set it for 4 weeks, and then you're done, and that gives the planning board time to come back with.
What would be the date of that?
It would be March 3rd.
March 3rd.
9:15.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we establish a public hearing on March the 3rd at 9:15 for our outdoor advertising sign ordinance amendments.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, should sign the right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Marcia, if you would take care of that, please. Okay, let's get back on schedule. Back to top of new business, presentation of Goldsboro Wayne Travel and Tourism. Mr. Wood, if you would kindly.
She gonna get that done in 5 minutes.
Huh?
It's gonna take her more than 5 minutes.
Is it gonna take y'all more than 5 minutes?
Okay.
We'll do the quick version.
All right. We hate to keep holding you up.
I know, you're ready to go.
I just wanted to give this
This billboard's important to the hotel, so that was good discussion.
Well, that's the part I support.
That's it.
Well, I'm Betsy Roseman, Director of Travel and Tourism for the City of Goldsboro, and Rick Sumner is my Goldsboro Tourism Council Chairman.
Good to be back. That's the air show last time. So
And thank y'all for having us here today. And we're just going to tell you briefly, Bill Payton, Commissioner Bill Payton, and Commissioner Gurley have been really good about coming to our meetings and being cross-eyed with some of the information we provide. So we felt like we owed it to you to give a little more information about what travel brings to Wayne County. And our goal is to enrich quality of life and encourage economic development by promoting travel and tourism in the community. And we are developing Goldsboro, Wayne County as a unique travel destination. And I'll just touch briefly on this. What we do is we basically are funded by occupancy tax, so we work with hotels, attractions, events, just to bring people to the area.
So heads and beds. We're trying to
Heads and
keep people
beds.
Stay in those beds and raise that money. That's where the tax dollars go.
Go ahead, Marcia. Basically, we fulfill about 3,000 to 5,000 inquiries annually. We maintain the visitor center at the Chamber of Commerce building. We update local and state calendars, and we do personal visits to welcome centers. We distribute visitors guides, brochures, and flyers to welcome centers, RDU International Airport, other areas. And we belong to 14 tourism-related associations, and I'm a member on 7 boards. And we attend legislative receptions, congressional visits, participate in travel-related trade shows, and we coordinate the monthly Seymour Johnson Air Force Base tours, Federal for civilians. And of course, we promote attractions. We have wonderful ones in the county. We do festivals and events, everything from Wings Over Wayne, Pig in the Park, the Pickle Drop, Beak Week, which is our newest event in September, and then the county fair.
And on what we do, just to put it in perspective, because I know some of y'all know this, but you may not be aware of, like something like Pig in the Park that we started 6 years ago, that's the local barbecue festival, brings in about 7,000 to 10,000 people out to Waynesboro Park, Old Waynesboro. Then Beak Week, it just started, it brought in like 4,500, but that would probably grow to someday being like 30,000, because that's what the Pickle Festival, I think, is over 30,000 now. It may even be more than that, but so it gives you an idea what these festivals do, because people like those, and then sometimes that's their first exposure to Goldsboro, Wayne County. And then the air show, which we talked about last time, anywhere from 150 to 200,000 people will be here in our county. So these are big deals about getting people off those bypasses into here and seeing what's going on. And that's a lot of what I do. That's a lot of, I've been involved in pretty much every one of those events, as has Betsy, to try to get those things going so people have a reason to come here.
And the festivals and events look to the Travel and Tourism Office to promote and market And we've been marketing the air show since, what, 2005?
Yep.
So we've been very excited about the opportunity to partner with the base. Sporting events have become huge. We've been very successful recruiting new sporting events, everything from cycling events, the state tennis championship through USTA. We will have them again this year and the next year. AMA is doing Dirt Track Nationals at Busco, soccer events, and the Y has 26 swim meets a year. Brings in about $750,000.
And the only thing I would add before we get into this gives you an idea of what's coming up this year, but you've heard about the multi-sports complex. That's why that's such a big deal. If you think of just what the YMCA generates with the swimming, that multi-sports complex is football, soccer, lacrosse, any field sport, and all these places around us have these different, we don't even have lacrosse in this county, but everyone around us does, so they want to have events. So that's something that's year-round, soccer's year-round, football's more seasonal, so that's why that's so important, that's something we're working really hard to get here. We're one of the few counties that does not have a multi-sports complex for field sports. We've got softball and baseball covered, but we need to get the other field sports figured out.
And baseball's declining, so, and soccer and rugby and lacrosse and other field sports are on a surge. So it's a tremendous economic impact to the counties that are participating. We are fortunate to be hosting, or the YMCA actually is hosting it, Upper Southeast Regional Championship swim meet in March. It's the 12th through the 15th. It's bringing in about 700 swimmers for that date. And then, of course, we have, and the hotels are so excited, and they're full because of this event. Big in the Park is April 11th. Our North Carolina Pickle Festival will be the 24th and 25th of April. Got Wings Over Wayne on May 16th and 17th. Got a bicycle crit, it's a criterium in June. The American Cornhole State Championship, we've got them again this year for June 12th and 13th. Another soccer tournament on the same day as the 13th. We got the AMA Extreme Dirt Track Nationals in August. We've got a new event coming up with American Cornhole called the Heroes Cup. Ricky, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the basic idea there is to get all the first responders, all the military in North Carolina all competing, playing cornhole, which is the game you throw bean bags. So it's a sport that everyone can do and participate. So we're real excited about getting the base involved, and that will be piggybacked with Beak Week, which is a celebration of our agriculture on the the things with beaks, the chickens and turkeys. And then we obviously have the state championship. That gives you an idea of what we're doing. That's a lot of stuff. Betsy runs all those, involved in all those. And those are events that we're driving people here and getting them in the hotels. To give you a big picture, we have about 1,300 hotel rooms. So when you have a swim meet, you're filling up every one of those rooms, and you're doing it on a weekend when our business travelers aren't here. And then the last slides, I think, are the most important from a tax perspective.
The results of all this activity, it brings visitors to Wayne County, and they spend $147.46 million. That's what they spent in 2013. We'll have the 14 figures in August. 1,000 jobs were attributed to travel and tourism, and the industry generated $19.6 million in payroll for Wayne County. So those people are going out spending their money in the county. State and local tax revenues from travel to Wayne County amounted to $11.11 million, and of the 100 counties, we are 27th in the state.
You gotta get to that top 25. We're almost
Yeah,
there.
I'm still trying for it.
This is fun.
This chart, I broke everything down. I've been doing this since 2005. We were doing a little over $100 million in travel expenditures, and now we're at 147.4. And if you'll see the last chart, or the last column, the tax savings per citizen. And this is phenomenal. For every citizen, the county is saving $89 for this economic impact coming in per citizen. So a family of four would be working over about $400 difference if we didn't have this investment in the county.
So we appreciate your support, and I'm sure, just trying to keep you guys involved with what we're doing so you can see how it impacts Wayne County as well as, Goldsboro. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pate.
Well, you saved me from having to do an update today on the tourism board meeting the other day. But I'd ask them, and I said to Jody, I thought it was important for you to come here to show us the actual numbers, because this board is number-driven and dollar-driven. And I had no idea the impact it had on this county until I started coming to your board meetings. And they do a heck of a job. They've got a lot of vision, and you see they've got all these events that I didn't even know existed out there.
I would say Parks and Rec from the city plays a big role in these events too, to give them credit. Y'all are welcome anytime to come to our meetings. We have one once a month and gives you a good idea of what's going on out there. So appreciate y'all's support.
And a good breakfast soup.
That's right, good food too.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Darden. You know, I'm a big supporter of the multi-sports complex. I think that's a great idea in coordination with our base. Where are we at on that? I'm hoping that still is.
I'll give you a quick answer. The great thing about getting involved with the base, it's a great opportunity for this P4 initiative. We've been one of the first in the country where it shows us working with our base, creating something that would not only help the base, but help the whole county. The only downside sometimes when you work with the military is there's more hoops to go through, so it's been slowed down a little bit. Also, we've got an air show coming up in May, so we really can't start construction or anything like that. We'll have that going on, because where that is gonna be, there might be parking used during the air show. So I would say you'll see more hopefully by June on that. It's kind of in this little holding pattern right now, but they're working it through the process. There's a lot of process in the Air Force, as you can imagine. But as far as I know, everything's still moving forward, and there's still support for that. And I think there's a real win-win opportunity. So if some changes, we'll let you know. But that's where we're
I don't think people really realize just what a big impact that would have for Wayne County. You know, Pitt County has got a great facility over there. I go over there and watch my grandkids all the time. And we really need that here.
Wilson has it. I mean, everyone has one, but it's pretty much. And just kind of your analogy about the bypass, it's like we're getting bypassed on that. If we could get it here, even we benefit already from Wilson. They have such big events. They're coming. It's like our hotels better sometimes. They come to our hotels. Those parents. So imagine what we could do if we actually had one in our own. Right. So thank you, Chester.
Thank you. And also on the sports complex, that's two-sided. I mean, not only is it gonna bring tourism dollars into the county, retention of the base. I mean, that's both of them are very important.
It's also has an initial investment that, you know, you've got the millions of dollars to build it, but then self-sustaining afterwards because it keeps generating tax dollars that can pay for it. So that's a nice thing too.
Any other questions?
Well, some time ago, I was at some meetings, and I don't remember what role I was playing. It might have been with the school system, I forgot. When I was attending some of your meetings. What about the basketball events? Where you, because at one time there was a move to do some special basketball things.
Mm-hmm.
How is that, where is that at? I heard you say baseball was declining, but what about basketball and that?
Yeah, I think basketball's still a great opportunity. We have existing facilities. It's just
And the University of Mount Olive brings tremendous revenue into our county because they only have one hotel, so it sends business back into Goldsboro. So any sporting events at the college.
Basketball kind of sporting events like that are at Mount Olive University.
That's probably the best facility right now.
And Parks and Rec are still doing some basketball, but you know, there's been issues there with adequate facilities, so it's
And we can certainly explore that. I mean, that's a good point.
So if the city, well, let me be careful, but if the city does the W.H. Foster building, is that going to give you basketball facilities?
that will help tremendously. And you know, with the schools, the issues are whenever you use the school gymnasiums, you have to pay extra staff and things like that. And some of these organizations just don't have the funding.
Well, just because I know that the basketball, the gymnasium that the school system have, they have to schedule their own stuff. So, I mean, it is almost impossible for them to share because they have to schedule so much themselves. And so, well.
I think you're right. The W.A. Foster gives you that opportunity.
And we really haven't had a demand for basketball lately. We're still having some demand for, especially adult softball, which the Goldsboro Parks and Rec have been able to accommodate them.
Well,
and that brings in lots of weekend business.
And this is just a thought. They say, you know, that thing on TV, build it and they'll come. Well, there's a population out there that still is highly attracted by basketball. And if it's given the same notice, then we give a whole range of citizens an opportunity to participate in what they love very well. So, thank you, and just keep that in mind.
We'll definitely explore it and see what is out there.
And thank y'all for coming with your presentation today, and we're going to probably have you back again because this is very important to Wayne County and we, y'all keep us updated.
Bring us back anytime.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's a little past 10 o'clock. Let's get our public comment section behind us, and then we'll take about a 10-minute break. But let's go ahead and get the public comment section. The public comment section is open now. You're limited to 4 minutes. If you would, when you come up, please state your name, address, and phone number.
Tom Drew, P.O. Box 587, Goldsboro 27533. Good morning, Union Card carrying and dues paying members of the Board of Commissioners. Yes, the union of all unions, the United States of America. Social Security card is your union card. And if you don't have one of those, I need to see your green card. Now to get down to major union business. Free speech rights. So we have no dues paying without proper representation. In of the electoral due process, to elect the best and brightest union leaders, it is understood that the Board of Elections and its chief legal counsel are the weakest links in that process, of electoral due process, being that they are appointed, not elected, and thus the opportunity of asking them questions to see if they're qualified is in question. Thus, that reality is the motivating factor of this following letter sent yesterday. Open letter addressed to Borden Parker, Chief Legal Counsel for Wayne County Commissioners, and the Wayne County Board of Elections, Philip Bedore, Chief Legal Counsel for WCC, Jack Overs, Chief Legal Counsel for the Wayne County Board of Education, current Chief Legal Counsel for ECU. In of matters integral to findings of fact to secure evidence and witnesses for the contesting of the 2014 elections in Wayne County and the evolving amended protest of the 2014 Wayne County elections is a most pertinent concern I have shared since spring of 2002. At a Tate Peace Lunch Forum held on campus at North Carolina State University that spring, the topic was status of free speech rights on campus in light of the Patriots Act and Homeland Security. With a couple minutes to speak, I addressed that in respect to the word forum, and to do justice to the topic, it would take much longer than the hour scheduled. Did add that in regards to the topic of free speech rights on campus, the worst situation affecting free speech rights on campus is the absence of a free speech lawyer or the training for one in North Carolina. That statement of concern has evolved since to read as follows. The worst situation of education, government, law, medicine, business, and religion in North Carolina is that there's neither a free speech lawyer or the training for one in North Carolina. As such, secures the abilities to address any problem crucial to the progress of those fields of endeavor. I recognize education as the field of high priority to explore and secure the status of that reality. Thus, by this letter, to continue research begun, I request and or re-request of those addressed in this letter answers dated and signed to the following question. To secure that Wayne County government and the Wayne County public school systems has effective counsel to address present and future legal matters related to free speech rights, who presently represents Wayne County government and the Wayne County public school systems in of those matters, and to quantify those answers, where did they get their training? Do you recognize self-education as a viable answer? 30 seconds. One thing, the News Argus has been throwing free samples in the yards, driveways, and sometimes on the porch, which I've addressed before, legal counsel, as long as there's not a no soliciting sign, they're free to do that. But when it ends up out in the street, I recognize that as littering. I'd call the News Argus and let them know that reality. But they don't welcome my call, so need to call the law and get them for littering.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Drew. Anyone else have any comments?
Michael Caraway, 206 Highwoods Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina. phone 919-288-3076. I was able to take part in a meeting held at Barnes Chapel last night where a group of concerned citizens has concerns about the Duke Energy plant on Old Smithfield Road. As you all may know, that this plant has received local and national attention, the coal ash spills in North Carolina. And our concerns is we just want to know what exactly is going on, and we want to get some more information. And we're having another meeting on the 24th at 6:30 at Greenleaf Christian Church. And I took the liberty of putting a few of the flyers that were passed out last night, just so you can have for your review. And we're asking if a few of all the commissioners could come and attend this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your information. Anyone else? Anyone else have any comments? If not, I declare the public comment section closed. And let's take about a 5 or 10 minute break, if that's all right with everyone. Yeah.